Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
Hey, it's the big 7 o'clock hour here on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for starting your day with us. We really are honored and humbled that you've allowed us into your life every morning and that we're part of your morning routine. Hopefully, though, our conversation every day is far from routine. Partly because we have such great dynamic people who join our conversation, like at 7:35, Haley Morris, Americans for Safe Aerospace, because there's a UFO hearing that, let's just say the truth is out there, and Haley's going to get on top of it. And then at 8:35, James Rosen from Newsmax covers the White House. He's got the latest on the Biden scandals that are growing exponentially every day. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Julie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I love following up on, we've had a lot of follow-up on yesterday's stories. You probably heard first yesterday that Joe Biden's dog, Commander, is now, biting Secret Service agents at will, and it's been covered up for months. This, of course, after his first dog went through the exact same thing a couple of years ago. They're terrible people. They use these dogs as props.
Yep.
And it should be stopped. And also they use the Secret Service, misuse the Secret Service as well. And now we're going to follow up on this story that you probably heard first yesterday right here on O'Connor and Company. That is Metro installing these plexiglass barriers at the turnstiles. Again, to take you back several years, they stopped enforcing laws against fare jumping because we were told it was racist. Yeah. Basically, if you jump the fare and you end up getting a ticket, even if you end up getting arrested, we were told that it was disproportionately punishing African Americans in Washington, D.C. Now, I would like to know how many white, Asian, and Latino fare jumpers were just let off scot-free, and the police looked the other way, but they only enforced it against black people in Washington. I think that would be an important data point. No one was ever able to provide that to me. But they went ahead and they decriminalized this. And we warned at the time, in real time, that this was going to have multiple effects. Number one, Metro was going to lose a ton of money because they're saying you don't have to pay your fare anymore. Number two, you were introducing a criminal element to the Metro where if they can get away with breaking that law, what other laws will they break while they're down in Metro? And number three, those people who are currently paying to ride Metro will eventually stop riding Metro because they don't want to deal with that on their commute. They don't want to deal with criminals. They don't want to deal with feeling unsafe. They'll go ahead and add 20 minutes to their commute. If it means sitting in traffic, they're fine with that. All three of those things happened, Julie.
Yeah.
And the district council, they cannot bring themselves to say we were wrong. They cannot bring themselves to say, wow, our intentions were different, but boy, the results were bad. Unintended consequences. Let's recriminalize this, and we're going to take people who break the law. We're going to fine them. We're going to give them tickets, and if necessary, if they've got other outstanding. That's the other thing. Cops will tell you if you can pull somebody aside because they jumped the fare, and then you run their record and run their driver's license number, you find out, oh, you've got an outstanding warrant for shoplifting. You've got an outstanding warrant for all these other things, and then you get the bad guys off the streets. That's how law enforcement works.
Right.
District council couldn't bring themselves to say that, so instead they said, oh, we got a real problem here, so what are we going to do? We're going to add these plexiglass walls. We're going to spend millions of tax dollars that they don't have on building these plexiglass walls on the turnstiles to make it harder for people to jump the turnstile and jump the fare. We told you yesterday about this, and we told you, what did we say, Julie? We said they're going to figure it out.
Right.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
People are smart. They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out, and if they want to jump that fare, they will jump that fare. Well, within hours.
Within hours. I was dying yesterday when I saw this video because you predicted it.
Our friend Steve Chenevny over at Fox 5. My God, I'm about to talk to Steve on Fox 5 and mangling his name. He put out the video on Twitter within hours of us telling you about it. Already, people are pushing their way through the plexiglass. They are climbing over it because they're tall and athletic.
I mean, they have this video of a man and a woman walking through it together. Yeah. They're narrow enough that they actually just walk through it together.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they're still jumping the fares. There's one video where at least 5 people within like half an hour were videoed just pushing through these 55-inch gates and not paying. Yeah. And now this raises a question here. So apparently, if you're young enough, strong enough, and athletic enough,
and immoral enough,
and of course, if you're bound and determined to not pay the fare and break the law, well, because you already know they're not going to enforce law. Here's the thing: say people always,
Larry,
you're
look,
right.
Look, I'm sorry, but I know where you're going with this, and I'm sorry. I would never dream of doing that. And it does say something about our society, and maybe
Okay.
because we do not enforce the laws, it gives these people this idea.
When what it says about our society is that our leaders are not serious about enforcing the rules.
Right, but
and there are two set. And this is what happens to a society when leadership and government.
This is also. It's not always government. This also happens in a society when no one goes to church anymore. We know that religion is people are not as religious as they were.
But we have control over our government. We have control over our elected officials. Julie, you drive into work every morning at 4 a.m,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And you drive up Rock Creek Parkway, right?
Yes.
Where the speed limit is 35 miles an hour.
Oh, is it?
And well, no, it is because there are speed cameras and
yes,
you will get dinged.
Kidding. Yes.
And at 4 a.m, it's ridiculous that Rock Creek Parkway is 35 miles an hour.
Yes, it is.
But if you knew that they turned all the cameras off at 4 a.m, and there would be no enforcement, and the police announced to the world that no one will get stopped for speeding tickets at 4 a.m. on Rock Creek Parkway, would you still go 35 miles an hour?
No, I don't think that's a perfect analogy, though. I mean, there is a barrier keeping you from entering the subway, and
There's
are
a sign
breaking
that says,
a barrier.
Don't go faster
and
than 35.
You are like literally breaking this plastic barrier or jumping over a barrier.
I do not blame people for breaking laws that the government has said are not going to be enforced.
Okay, but they haven't actually said, because there is a barrier there, and that is implicit there, that, okay. You have to put your card in, and then this door opens.
And yet the district council has said, if you break this law, you will not be ticketed, you will not be cited.
I understand.
So here's my question. If you're strong enough and healthy enough and young enough to be able to climb over this thing and there will be no repercussions, then what if you're disabled?
Yeah.
What if you are in a wheelchair?
Yeah, where's the equity stuff?
That is not equal treatment.
Right.
Right? What if you're elderly?
What if you're a 50-something woman who just can't jump over barriers anymore?
Or what if you're not skinny enough? This is fat shaming. What if there's no? I mean, you have to use the left's dogma against them on this. So apparently, it's only young, able-bodied, as you put it, immoral people who are willing to go through this process to skip fare jumping, who will just get away scot-free. But the rest of us, as usual, will have to shoulder the burden. There it is. And at what point will there be ever a point where our elected officials at the district council will step up and say, you know what, we were wrong?
Yeah, I do. I think you're right. I think that there's a combination of things. I mean, both, actually enforcing the laws in place, arresting people or fining people if they go through these barriers. Look, we have these people on film, right? But I just do think that there has been a breakdown in civility. We just don't have a civil society anymore. We don't have. I mean, I think 30 years ago. And look, I know people were jumping these barriers as long as the subway's been there, but not as many. It's just so common now. And I agree with you. The message that was sent by DC is going to allow this. But again, I think culturally, we just don't think we have to pay for things anymore.
We need policing.
Yeah.
Society, this is something that Western civilization has learned for hundreds of years ago. We learned this. You know why you see graffiti in certain cities and you don't see it in other cities? Because in some cities, the law enforcement has been told by elected officials, oh, don't worry about that. That's just youth. They're artists. They're expressing themselves. It doesn't matter. There are other cities that said, no, this is a commentary on our society, and we will not tolerate graffiti. Do you know why people jump fares now and 20 years ago they didn't? Because our elected officials said, we don't care. It's racist if you enforce this. Just go ahead and let them do it. Do you know why some cities allow shoplifting and other cities say no? I mean, it's all about policing. And let me tell you, you look at this article from DC News Now. They asked writers, what do you think about this? What is the problem? Here you go. Sterling Thornton, Metro writer, he is wiser than every elected official in D.C. He says, I feel like they need more policing. They need to hire more police to stand guard. They've got to find a way to make sure that the people who truly need the assistance with the fare get it, but the people who can and should pay do.
I just take exception with the idea that the only thing that keeps us in check is police. There used to be morals. There used to be manners. There used to be, it's a sin to steal. That right. Used to be a part of it, Larry, and I don't think the only thing keeping people well behaved is the police state. I think there used to be this thing as civil society. It doesn't exist anymore.
I agree with, we don't disagree with the only thing that I disagree with is we as a society can't enforce faith and morals and sinful behavior. But we can enforce the law, the civil law, and we've abandoned that, or at least the Democrats who are running D.C. have abandoned.
WMAL. Making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Miss anything? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Get today's breaking news on the Vince Colonnese Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on WMAL.
Hunter does like his little crayon work, doesn't he? He does his little drawings. You tweeted out one of the pictures of one of Hunter Biden's paintings that's fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars from well-placed Democrat donors at his art gallery auctions. And how would you describe that art that Hunter Biden did?
I don't find them absolutely ugly, but they just seem pretty basic. They almost seem like, those hotel art things where you can go and look around and they're all just sort of prints and pretty frames.
And it's the palette of a Days Inn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got that. No offense to my friends at Days Inn, but let's face it, I don't go there for, my art enrichment. And we're learning now the identity of many of these people, one of whom was a huge donor to the Democratic Party and then got appointed by Joe Biden to a prestigious international
How about that?
Board, like being appointed to the ambassador to the
a tropical island.
Thank you. The Antilles.
And there you go.
Yesterday, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about this at the briefing, and here's what it sounded like.
See you tomorrow. Interrupting concerns about art sales, Karine. Can you take a question on that?
Walked away. Won't take a question on it. Continued to say that she won't comment on Hunter Biden because he's a private citizen. But, of course, private citizens don't get the benefits Hunter Biden gets. He's not just a private citizen. His last name is Biden. He's the son of the president. He's engaged in business that involves allies and donors that are connected to the president of the United States, and they just can't continue doing this. Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali, who is the aforementioned donor who bought some of Hunter Biden's art, upwards to about $1 million he's made so far on this, visited the White House 13 times in the past year and a half, including a one-on-one meeting with Neera Tanden, a high-level advisor to the President of the United States. That's based on reporting from Washington Free Beacon, who looked at the public records. Of course, we don't know the private records that have been kept off the books, like all the people who meet with the Biden family in Delaware, that there is no visitor's log for any of those visits.
That's right. This is clearly a case of pay for play. You buy a painting, you get a meeting.
Meantime, Hunter Biden is supposed to be in federal court this morning, and although his plea deal is very much in doubt, this was supposed to be just a rubber stamp from the judge, the federal judge, who was going to take this plea deal, this ridiculous sweetheart plea deal that no one else in this country would ever have gotten, were it not for the fact that this is the son of Joe Biden, and the investigation, as we learned last week in testimony before Congress, was halted, was stopped, was dragged, was slow-walked, and finally David Weiss reached a plea deal. Well, the judge yesterday admonished Hunter Biden's lawyers for lying to the court. They misrepresented themselves, called the clerk of the court, and pretended like they were Republicans from the House Judiciary Committee wanting to squash testimony from the IRS whistleblower so that it wasn't in front of the judge's eyes. It turns out it was Hunter's lawyers. They were lying to the court, and the judge said, by 9 p.m. tonight, you better tell me. Why did she even give them to 9 p.m.? She should have just thrown this whole thing out now.
Yeah.
And now we're told the judges face sanctions. Screw the sanctions. You should throw out this plea deal and go back to a real investigation, a criminal investigation of the entire Biden family.
Yeah, it would be nice.
It would be just.
It's
just exactly what should happen. Of course, we'll see what happens with this judge. I don't have many high hopes. One other thing that we've learned, a person who worked in David Weiss's office, the U.S. attorney in Delaware, is a close confidant of Hunter Biden and of Joe Biden. In fact, as
he was Joe Biden's press secretary. He then worked for the campaign. He worked for Beau Biden during his campaign, and in Delaware. Then he went and worked in the White House.
Yes,
and he was in the this prosecutor's office.
He was on the transition team.
Yes.
He described Hunter Biden as a brother.
He said, "I love you, brother." Yeah.
In 2018, that's while he was working for David Weiss, the U.S. attorney charged with investigating Hunter Biden and the Biden family.
So just down the hall from David Weiss, who's investigating the Hunter Biden family, the Biden family, and Hunter Biden, this guy is down the hall, a couple doors down, texting to Hunter Biden, "Love you, brother. How you doing?"
That's right.
I mean, the texts were very intimate. I mean, in like kind of a bro way. But
I wonder where all the leaks were coming from.
Yeah,
from that David Weiss office, right? Yeah, that's a person named Alexander Mackler, worked for years under Weiss, with the time frame overlapping the criminal investigation into Hunter Biden and the Biden family. But no need for a special counsel here.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
By the way, there is no need for a special counsel. We have plenty of information. Let's follow Kevin McCarthy's lead and move right toward the impeachment inquiry now. It's 7:24.
Now.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
7:37 now here on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday morning. It's a busy one. Coming up at 8:35, James Rosen from Newsmax. He's the White House correspondent. We'll get his impression of how this scandal is playing out right now from the Oval Office. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Julie,
good morning.
You know that the truth is out there. And we are just mildly obsessed with all of these unidentified flying objects, although I don't think they even call them UFOs anymore. Don't they have a new acronym for them?
I think so, UAP or something.
Yeah, let's get right to it. With the expert will tell us. She's the co-founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace, Haley Morris. Haley, thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
House Oversight Committee today, a subcommittee on national security, the border, and foreign affairs, is going to focus on these sightings. What should we expect today?
Sure. I think for many, this is going to be
Haley?
an introduction. Yep. Hi. Can you hear me?
Sorry, now I can't. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. So, good morning. So, I think today for many, it's going to be an introduction to an issue that is presenting a serious national security and essentially aerospace safety issue. From our perspective, we are Americans for Safe Aerospace is the first military pilot-led nonprofit that's dedicated to this issue. It's led by Ryan Graves, who's going to be testifying this morning. And he's a former Navy pilot whose squadron was seeing unidentified flying objects in military airspace every single day. And this was back in 2014, and we still don't have answers as to what those objects were. And what's more concerning now is that he is hearing from pilots, both military and commercial, that they are seeing objects with regularity, again, both in commercial and military airspace, and we don't have answers as to what they are. And so our mission is really clear, and that's what he's going to be conveying today. He's going to be saying his story as well as elevating the stories of these other pilots and aircrew, and we just want everything in our skies to be identified.
Is the concern here that these unidentified objects are of alien, otherworldly origin, or that they may be a foreign entity trying to breach our borders and our national security, or that there's something else at foot here, that it's the government that's testing things and putting our pilots at risk?
So you've drilled down to the heart of the matter. The answer is that we don't know because we don't have enough data. So right now, there are UAP in our airspace. We do know that, but they're undercounted due to a lack of reporting. So again, as I said, military aircrew and commercial pilots are routinely observing UAP, but in the case of commercial pilots, they have no way of reporting it. So we don't have an understanding as to the scope of the problem. And without that data, we can't even begin to really assess and evaluate exactly what these objects are. And many of them are advanced UAP. So these are demonstrating behaviors that are really hard to understand and can and act in ways that are, tend to defy our traditional understandings or our conventional understanding of technology.
We're talking about conventional understanding. We think of little green people and flying saucers and, looking up and seeing something, a bright light or something. But the term UAP encompasses not just flying objects, but things that are under the water. Have there been, and again, your organization encourages people to come forward and talk about these things. Have there been a lot of people coming forward about things they've seen in the oceans?
Yes. So our organization has now started to work with all sorts of military, former military and commercial air crew witnesses who are coming forward to us with their encounters. And some of these witnesses are also veterans who have come forward to us regarding UAP encounters in our oceans.
Oh. So, we jokingly
Sharks
say the
aren't
truth.
Bad enough.
The truth is out there. X-Files.
Hey, I'm a surfer. I get it.
Oh, wow.
So we jokingly say the truth is out there, and forgive me for reading between the lines here, Haley Morris, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds as though you're saying the military, the Pentagon, the government, they know what these things are. They could answer all these questions. They're just refusing to. Is that your position?
No, I think that we haven't even gotten there yet. I think that we're still in a premature state where we need to collect more data. We know that there are objects, but we don't know that much about them. So much of this information is classified, and in some cases it's potentially over-classified. But our position is that if UAP are foreign drones, this is a national security issue. If it's something else, it's an issue for science. And either way, for the UAP that are in our skies, it's a concern for safety of flight.
You know what? This is a fascinating angle on this because oftentimes people think, oh, the government is keeping this classified because they know what it is and they don't want us to know. But I think what you're saying is more probably it's classified because they don't want people to know that they don't know.
We think that it's just, we're not here to speculate. We can only uplift the data we have, and in many cases that's eyewitness testimony from pilots and air crew, as well as witnesses who have seen things on multiple sensor systems. Now there is another witness who is testifying today alongside Ryan and another pilot, Lieutenant Commander David Fravor. His name is David Grush. He is coming forward with information about legacy government programs, and I can't really speak to that, but I do think that any witness who is coming forward from our government, from our military, deserves to have their claims and their reports investigated.
Agreed. Especially if the members of our military, our naval aviators, our Air Force pilots are in danger because of this. We'll look forward to the hearings today. Yeah. Thank you so much, Haley. We got to leave it there. Hang 10 out there on our behalf, though. Beautiful summer. Enjoy your surfing.
Appreciate it.
She is Haley Morris, Americans for Safe Aerospace. It is now 7:40. Next year is the Olympics. Did you know that? The Olympics are right around the corner. That's always fun. That's always exciting. And so that means it's time to start paying attention to some of these Olympic events that, for the most part, Americans don't really follow, right? We only care about track and field every 4 years. We only care about competitive swimming every 4 years. That's fine. We've got a lot of other sports to occupy our time with. Well, yesterday, something historic happened in the World Championships in swimming, and it involves one of our locals, Katie Ledecky. Born right here in Washington, D.C., grew up in, I believe, Montgomery County, Maryland. Katie Ledecky did something absolutely astounding. I want you to listen to this. This is the end of the 1,500-meter race, and I want you to know, up until the last Olympics, women didn't even compete in the 1,500-meter. This is like, to swimming, this is like a marathon, right? And the longest race women competed in were at the Olympic level was an 800-meter race. Last time around, they opened it up to the 1,500-meter freestyle. And Katie Ledecky won the gold medal there. Now, what will be, I believe, her fourth Olympics. I'll get the details on that in a second. She did the World Championships yesterday, and this is what the end of the race sounded like.
Acknowledging her greatness as she works her way towards the wall. Katie Ledecky already won 5 world titles in the 800 free. Will go for a 6th in that event later this meet. Now the first person to win 5 world titles in 2 different events as she gets another here in the 1500 free. Katie Ledecky to the wall first again for the 15th time in an individual world championship event, equaling Michael Phelps for the most individual world golds in swimming.
That's right. Michael Phelps, of course, also a Maryland, a favorite son of Maryland. So here we've got 2 D.C. area Maryland swimmers, the greatest of all time, Michael Phelps and Katie Ledecky. Incredible. And Katie Ledecky now tying Michael Phelps, as you just heard. And if I could tell you, Julie, if you look at the video, she finishes and touches the wall at the end of this race, and there is not another swimmer in sight.
Wow.
Like on her side, she won by 17 seconds. 17 seconds in swimming.
Like I can make an omelet.
Yeah. Exactly. This is just amazing. And it is moments like this, and Katie Ledecky appears to be just a great person, a great human being. She's got the best attitude. She loves our country. She loves her sport. She's always got a positive thing to say. She doesn't get wrapped up in this. And you talk about her being a veteran of the sport, and she's, been around. It seems like she's been around forever.
Yeah.
She's 26.
I love this headline from CBS News. It just says Maryland's pride. And that is so true for both of them. But wow, what an accomplishment from Ledecky.
Yeah, and Katie Ledecky absolutely is about to surpass all of the achievements that Michael Phelps had in men's swimming. She's about to surpass them in women's swimming because she's got a lot of years ahead of her. Yeah. She's 26, for God's sake. I remember in one of the Olympics, it must have been 3 Olympics ago. I guess this is her third. She's about to have her 4th Olympics, I think, if I remember right. I remember her being a kid. She was like 15, I think.
She began her Olympic career at 15.
Yeah.
She
was winning gold then.
Yes, she was.
6 individual Olympic gold medals, 15 individual world titles, and that was in 2012. That was at the 800-meter race when she won the gold when she was 15 years old. That was in London. So, 2012, 2016, 2020, and now this will be her 4th Olympics. Phenomenal, and she is still at the top of her game.
Congratulations!
And she's a local girl making good. Local girl conquering.
Yeah, I love that this is a local story.
Yep, fabulous. Well done, Katie Ledecky. Incredible. Something to feel proud of. Something to feel excited about. Until the international swimming body, of course, ruins women's swimming by allowing Leah Thomas to compete.
Just have this moment, Larry.
It's 7:53.